as you know. And it's just about time for another Q&A of hers to begin. So she should be arriving any second. It should be any time now. And in fact, I think her TARDIS is landing. There you go. Now you do have your own TARDIS.
What's this?
Oh, that's my laptop.
Okay.
It's a coaster if you need to use it. I will sacrifice my laptop for that.
That's fine. I'll be careful.
Okay, so this being your very first convention, you've now been here for most of the day. What's your impression?
Well, my goodness.
It's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot to take in.
Oh my good golly, Aunt Molly. I'm just like kind of blown away. It's so lovely. I feel great, and I'm going to feel very flat tomorrow. I don't want to leave. I want this to be my life all the time. I'm feeling the love, and it's very nice indeed. Thank you.
We're going to be taking questions from the audience again in this session, so if you have a question, feel free to line up. I do want to talk a little bit about some of the other jobs that you've done, and especially the work that you've done with the Royal Shakespeare Company. Because from what I understand, you weren't, for a long time, you weren't very much of a Shakespeare person, but you had a sort of turning point on that.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, no, I never read Shakespeare. I've never done Shakespeare. I come from Glasgow, pretty working industrial town in Scotland, and fairly working class family with middle class aspirations. So I went to a pretty bad school, and any Shakespeare that I was exposed to was pretty dusty experience. Wasn't at all exciting, and I wasn't interested. And anyway, I was looking out the window, so I was not paying attention. So then, once I got a little traction and a little bit of profile in London and Britain, I started to get asked to do things that I would never have thought possible. And one of them was when the Royal Shakespeare Company came to me and asked me to play Kate in Taming of the Shrew. And I went along to meet the, thank you, it was a fabulous production, but I went along to meet the director, and I'd never even read any Shakespeare, and we were going to talk about it, we were to have one of these meetings where we were just going to chat, and I, for a few days, just crammed the final speech of the Shrew into my brain. And if anybody knows Taming of the Shrew, the whole thing about Kate is her eloquence and her wit and intelligence. And so this speech at the end is her kind of, her last tool that she has available to her to survive this dreadful marriage that she's in. And so it's a long monologue. And I crammed it into my brain, and met this director, and we had a chat, and then he shook my hand and said he was very excited that I was going to be doing this. I said, no, wait, I haven't done my speech yet. And they said, no, it's an offer. And I went, yeah, but I've never read any Shakespeare, so how's that going to work? They went, oh, you'll be fine, we'll take care of you. And I insisted that I get up and do this speech, God love me. And I pinned the man to the wall as I, went through this entire monologue at the end. And, that's kind of how I think I attack most things, is through total naive ignorance and hope that I get through the other end. And that was an incredible experience. It was a massive education, and the RSC, it was a bit like going back to school. They really do take care of you, and you really do understand why you're saying what you're saying, because what you're reading is like reading a foreign language. And I'm British, and it's written in English. I had no clue what I was saying. So they take a few months before you actually shove you in front of a paying audience. And so I then, the Warwick University, RSC is based in Warwick, where old William Shakespeare was born, and they approached me and said, we understand that you have no experience of Shakespeare at all. How do you feel about setting up Stand Up for Shakespeare and taking Shakespeare into schools, underprivileged schools that don't have any exposure of Shakespeare or anything that's exciting about Shakespeare? It's just sort of dryly read by their teacher. So I set up this postgrad with them and went into schools and attained this qualification so that when I stop being Missy, I can go and teach Shakespeare to schools in Scotland or maybe Atlanta.
You could use it here. One of the things that you'll discover if you do more of these kind of things is that fans love to shower you with their adoration. And we have a gentleman who has something that he would like to present to you. Mr. Dimitri Walker, who's an artist who has done a painting.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh, that's so incredible! Thank you very, very much. I absolutely love it. It's just, yeah, that's incredible. I know exactly where it's going to go. Thank you. That's very, very generous. I think I'm going to wear this now as well.
Now, when all your friends come over to your house and they see the painting and they say, what skyline is that? You can say, oh, that's Atlanta. And you can say, well, when were you in Atlanta? You can tell them.
Oh, this is a whole conversation piece. You don't know what you've started, Dimitri. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about Stage Door Johnny.
Oh, for God's sakes. Jesus, where did you get all this? Stage Door Johnny as in Jack?
Yes.
Ah, okay. I have a husband. And we've been together now, next year it'll be 20 years. Well, we haven't got there yet. We'll get there. We're one more year to go. But yeah, no, Jack is also an actor. He saw me on stage doing a production of Trainspotting by Irvine Welsh before it was the movie. And I played all the women, and there was only 4 of us in the play, so I wore many hats. And I also pulled my top up and showed my boobs at one point as well. And Jack said, "That's my wife." To his gay friend who sat next to him, said, "I don't see it." He then proceeded to reside at the stage door, so he became my stage door Johnny, and for a few months, I mean, I say it's a year, and he says it's nonsense, it was just a couple of weeks, but yes, in my mythology, I'll say it was a year. He basically courted me, and here we are today, still married.
That's a great story. Tell us about some of your theater background, because I know that you started out basically as a comedic actress. Tell us about some of the theater roles that you've done.
Well, I started out by taking myself very seriously. And I did a show by Kate Atkinson, who's a wonderful writer. A lot of her books are made into plays. And there was a show in Edinburgh at the Lyceum, and I was playing a very serious ghost up the back of the stage. And it was a very worthy performance, a very worthy production. And it was called Abandonment. And of course, if you stick me up the back of the stage playing a ghost during my 25th matinee, there's probably going to be some antics. And grapes, I think, at one point were involved, because I wanted to see if I could do an entire production with a grape in my mouth. I could do the whole show and nobody would notice. So I get bored very easily. I think that's the problem. And so after the first night of anything, it's all about just pissing about, really. And so there was a show that was probably in Britain would be like the show that kind of broke out a little bit, and it was called The Book Group, and that was for Channel 4. And Annie Griffin, who was the creator of the book group, she saw this performance of Abandonment where I was playing this very serious Victorian ghost up the back of the stage, and she thought she took me for lunch and she said she wanted to talk to me about this show, and she said that that was one of the funniest things she'd ever seen, which was heartbreaking for me because I didn't know that I was funny. And so I was a bit, I took great umbrage at this until she offered me a job. And for me, probably the book group was for televisually, because I was doing so much theatre. And, with this face, it's hard to cast on the telly. And
I don't see that at all.
Well, I mean, luckily I'm playing witches and bitches, so I'm going with the flow. I'm going with what God gave me. And, so it was basically, the book group was then the start of, I guess, televisually becoming a comedy actress, really.
I was going to ask you about Book Group, actually. So can you give the audience a little description of what that show was like and some of the characters, and especially your character on it?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of misfits, really. It was Annie Griffin's an American director who'd come across to Scotland, based herself in Edinburgh, and she was a great writer. It was very quirky, it was quite surreal, and it was just about a lot of young, broken people that were couldn't really find their way in the world. It was quite a sort of unique look at people that don't fit. There's sort of a bunch of misfits, and there was quite a lot of comedy in that, in them trying to sort of work out how to be normal. I don't know what that is. Whatever normal is. I mean, what is normal? But there's this idea in society has that there's a norm. Well, we all know that's bollocks. Because it's just, everybody's just, their own unique, kind of little snowflake. And it was the very strong writing, it's very funny writing, and there were some great characters, and it was about, different classes coming together as well, and watching that explode, because obviously in Britain we still have this very kind of structured class system, and there's a lot of comedy to be had in that. If you stick, a Glaswegian swearing, cursing, drunken, acid-dropping, football-loving nutter next to my character, who was all about the vol-au-vents and having a nice buffet. You put us together, and then suddenly we're having an affair. It's sort of none of it made any sense, but it worked really well.
I believe it was after that you went to the Green Wing, which I've watched some clips of, and I get the impression that you will go to just about any length for your comedy. Yeah. Was there anything that, actually tell them about Green Wing, because your character there was amazing.
I'm going to be so flat tomorrow. I'm starting to really enjoy this. Yes, she was amazing, yes. No, I went up for that, and again, it was like I had one line. I was auditioning for one line, and I remember the day I just couldn't be arsed. I looked in the mirror as I was leaving for another, random bout of humiliation and rejection, and turned up not in a good mood. And they sat me in this room and they asked me to improvise. And I just, I think I tore the head off some poor guy, and just lambasted him with as much as I could, and thought, well, that won't get me the job. And I think I almost slapped him at one point as well. And then apparently I licked an envelope in a very curious fashion and then left the room. And I got the job. And that one line turned into, you know, an amazing part, and mainly because Channel 4 had some money left over in their budget, and it was like a tax thing. So they set up like a think tank, and they called it Green Wing. And we weren't even going to go on air. They just like shoved a bunch of actors in a room with a camera and some writers, and we made this thing. And it was a huge hit. I mean, Green Wing was a big deal over there. And so that kind of reaped the benefit of, for once, having some time and energy just to play, you know. And I think that really came across. You know, there were times where in my office, they would literally set the camera to record and leave. And I would just be in this room, just pissing about, and, you know, I think a camel appeared at one point, and I acted with a lion at one point, singing, what's his name? Oh, jeez, I've gone blank now, but, whatever I was singing, The Circle of Life, that's right. I was singing The Circle of Life to a large lion, and it didn't like it. And the Wrangler, I looked at the Wrangler, and the Wrangler looked at me and he said, "There's nothing I can do." But I'm here. I'm still here to tell the tale. So yes, there is nothing. There are no lengths, actually, I would go to.
What I was going to do, I was thinking about, there's a really good YouTube video that's just a selection of clips of your character and all your characters' really great, outrageous moments. And I thought, oh, that would be fun to show as part of, because I'm sure that most of our audience hasn't seen it because I don't think it's been broadcast here. I thought it'd be really fun to show that here, and I thought, I can't show this to our audience. There was some really racy stuff going on. I mean, it was hilarious. You're pretty fearless.
Again, I'm not really there. I think I go into some kind of like acting blackout or something. So I don't really think I'm there. I mean, physically I'm there, but I think I leave my body at some point and stuff happens. And then I see it a few months later and feel a bit mucky.
You guys, go ahead and start lining up at the microphone if you have questions. Hi, go ahead.
Okay. First, shout out to Glasgow. Great girls from there. Love it. I've been there and love Glasgow.
Yeah, it's a great city.
But as one artist to another, what piece of advice would you give somebody who is trying to break into whatever industry that they're trying to break into?
Whatever it is, don't give up, because if you do give up, there'll be somebody waiting to take your turn. So, like, and even if it takes forever, I'm a you know, slow bloomer. I mean, I don't even think I've bloomed yet, but I'm on my way to blooming. I could have bloomed and gone, but anyway, forget the blooming. Just don't worry about blooming. Just forget the blooming. But no, my point is that, you know, I'm a woman of a certain age, and, you know, it's taken me a while, and there's been years where I'm like, really? I'm here again, you know, and I'm here. I've managed to break through in the UK, and I have a certain profile here, but really nobody knows me here. And I'm, you know, Doctor Who's.
We know
you do. This is wonderful. It's sort of given me that bridge across the pond. But to start again at this age, when you actually have a little traction elsewhere, has been tough. And I've had to have some serious talks with myself as well. And I'm just like, but I'm stubborn, and I'm just not gonna, you know, if you know you're talented deep down, and you know you've got something, because you do, you know when you know, then you've just got to keep going no matter what, and it's going to be your turn, because the world is abundant. There's enough for everyone. You just got to be patient and wait your turn.
Hello. I just wanted to say, you know, I saw your performances in Doctor Who, and you made a very chilling, very aggressive villain, and great work. And I wanted to say thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you. That means a lot.
I wanted to ask, how exactly? I love your version of the Master. It's fantastic. But you took what has been traditionally and from its conception, a hardcore male dominant role, and you manage to take it as a woman and not lose the femininity of being a woman while keeping that dominance.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love to see that because that's such a step forward for women in television. But how did you do that, and how did you feel about being able to take on such a masculine character and turn it into a woman without losing the character itself?
I just, like any good bitch, I just peed all over her. Okay. Blackout.
You did a good job as playing as the woman version you did a good job as playing the woman version as the master. So are you planning on your return to acting next season?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I really do. I think, like Missy's such a gift to me. Like she's just, just to come along at this stage in my career, and I hope those that are in, that have the power will acknowledge that, and we'll see more of her. And I kind of think they will. Thank you.
You're in the opening two-part episode. Is there anything after that in next season?
Oh, that I really don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know. I really don't know that. That I don't know.
I have to say, Green Wing is one of my favorite television shows of all time. It's so funny, and I love Sue White. She was hilarious. She's so good. And I was so excited to see you in Doctor Who. And anything that's getting exposure over here because so many people haven't seen Green Wing.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if you had any other, fun memories from making it.
Oh, so that show for me was just like, there was a period where, all these actors came together. We didn't really know each other, and we're all still today, like, some really good friendships were forged then, because we were all at a stage in our career where nobody really knew who we were. And so there was a lot of, like, it was just very relaxed, and it was all about having fun. And but I mean, probably the one that really stands out in me was, just like wandering around a real working hospital, Basingstoke Hospital, who initially were all kind of a Twitter that, there were some actors and there was some filming. Well, after 2 years, when we were like accidentally falling, there was one point where I was pushed out of the what do you call it, the set. I work in film, obviously. And I was basically in the way, and they pushed me out of the way into an operating theatre, and the surgeon just looked up and was like, oh. I just went by, and I just stood there, it was, or wandering around in a camel, that show was just outrageous.
Yeah, I heard that, like, the operating scenes, they kind of actually are like that. Like, the doctors, like, kind of mess around sometimes, and I don't know if that's true.
It was quite close to the bone, really. I mean, that's why most comedy's funny, because you relate to it, So we had a big, nursing and doctor fraternity that really loved what we were doing, because it was pretty close to home.
Thank you.
Before you walk away, where did you see Green Wing? How did you get it?
So long ago, I found it on the internet somewhere.
Really?
And
Is it on Hulu?
Now it's on Hulu.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I was probably way too young to be watching it, but it was, gosh, I don't know how. I loved it, and it was great, and you were great. Thank you.
Hi, so I just want to say, first of all, that I actually haven't heard of you before, and seeing you in Doctor Who, now I just want to see you in everything else you've done. You're funny, and you've got the moxie to speak.
Thank you.
Just crazy.
Thank you so much.
So I actually had a question. Being in Other Words before, I was wondering, if you had to cross over any show with Doctor Who, if you were to put The Mistress in any other show, what show would it be?
House of Cards. Isn't she already in that? Isn't that what Robin Wright's doing?
That's actually a really awesome answer. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hello.
How hard was it to keep the secret that you would be playing the Master?
Oh my God. You know what? I took that so seriously, and like my agent and my husband knew, and so I knew like if it got out, either one of them wasn't going to be in my life anymore. So it was like I kept it really small, and but that was really hard. And then I kind of like turned it into my little secret, you know, and I was going to play games with people, and then there was a time when I was in Barnes and Noble, and I was going to get the Doctor Who magazine. And this little guy, this punk, this 13-year-old punk, like went in and got it before me. And there was only one left. And it was the night of the reveal of Missy. And he stood up and he was like leafing through it, and I was like, that looks good. And he looked at me and he went, yeah, it's really good, yeah. And I said, who do you think Missy's going to end up being? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. And then he looked at me and went, you really look like Missy. I am! Come here! He just ran away. I'm not sure if I should feel too good about it. That doesn't reflect well on me. Thank you.
I had a question for you as a mother. Has your son started watching Doctor Who yet? And how does he relate to seeing his mom? If so, how does he relate to seeing his mom as the evil character?
Well, he's too young to get it. He's 5.5, but I had to take him to Cardiff this year. I had to take him on set this year, and he's got the cans on. He's 5.5. The makeup team has painted him head to toe as a tiger. He's sitting at the monitors, and I'm like, now, Mummy's just going to go and do a bit of this now, and so just be quiet, darling. And then I'm running around doing the action, which I can't tell you about, obviously. And then halfway through the take, I'm like, this is a lot of pressure on this kid, you know, and he stays quiet throughout the whole take, and at the end, all you hear him saying is, that was a big kaboom! But he'll, you know, he now is intent on Missy Who. He keeps telling everybody that he understands that I'm Missy, but he keeps writing Missy Who, because I think he's after a spin-off.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Too tall. All right, what are your plans, what sinister plots and plans are you going to do for the next Doctor Who? And second, are you going to kiss the Doctor?
Am I going to kiss him again? Well, that's a bit much. To kiss him again? No, I don't think I'll kiss him again. I might do something else. But I think we'll probably leave it there.
Now, a lot of us here love audio dramas. Would you be interested, are you looking at possibly getting into doing some of the Doctor Who audio dramas in between some
You did one.
Yeah, I did.
You did one?
I did. Yeah, was it Valhalla? Is that what it's called? Yes, thank you.
I missed that one.
With Sylvester's, with Sylvester.
Because I've recently gotten into the audio dramas,
Right.
And I am loving them, and I would love Missy to be, you know, as a part of the audio drama world.
Well, keep saying that.
Now here's a good one. If you have Missy teamed up with Iris Wildtime, she's played by Katie Manning in the audios.
That would just be amazing.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your web series and any plans for being on American television, or is there a show on American television you'd want to be on that we could lobby for?
I have. There's